This clip is about how the octagon model of a person can help understand thinking and learning. It is partly based on the excellent book entitled Creative Problem Solving by Edward and Monica Lumsden. Now, the way our brain works seems to correspond to the way we use the four main faculties. We have left and right hemispheres like this, both made up of neocortex and limbic parts of the brain. Researcher Dr. Herman suggests that each hemisphere is also made up of two parts or quadrants, which he identifies by letters. Here is how we use each quadrant to think. A is the mainly logical one, B the conservative, C the emotive, and D the innovative quadrant. This may not reflect current thinking, but it is a useful model. Now, these arrows show how easy it will be for us to change from one way of thinking to another. The thicker the arrow, the easier. For instance, it's easy to change within one hemisphere, say A to B, but difficult to change between opposite quadrants, say A to C. For example, if you feel very emotional, it can be difficult to think logically, something everyone can relate to. And in general, men are better at using the left brain and women are better at using the right brain. But remember, I did say in general. Let's now look at the practical aspect of using our brain, problem solving. We work out solutions to problems using different parts of our brain. The Lumsdens have identified 6 steps using combinations of all the brain quadrants. They say it is important to follow all the steps in the right order. The first 2 steps are to work out what the problem is. We use the detective mindset in the left brain to look at detail, like using a microscope. Then we use the explorer mindset in the right brain to look at the context, like using a telescope. The next 4 steps provide the answer and are the artist, where many possible solutions are generated, then the engineer, where these ideas are made practical, the judge, where the best idea is selected, and finally the producer, where the best is put into practice. If no idea seems practical, then we have to go back to the first 2 steps. Now let's look at learning. Since we learn things using our brain, it is not surprising that there are different ways in which we can do this. 2 more researchers, Honey and Mumford, have identified 4 ways of learning which seem to correspond well to our 4 main faculties of watching, thinking, expressing and doing. Reflectors like to collect data and think about them. They like observing others and listening before speaking. Pragmatists like things that are practical and down to earth. They prefer to do rather than talk. Theorists like to think problems through on their own and develop theories of what they have learnt. And activists like newer experiences and ideas but may get bored with implementing things. These 4 ways of learning can be combined into 4 learning styles that 2 other researchers, Kolb and McCarthy, have identified. To a certain extent, their descriptions correspond with the outer linking faculties of the octagon. Assimilators prefer to integrate or classify observations and conceptualize ideas, asking what questions. Accommodators prefer learning by trial and error. They work intuitively, not always logically, asking what if. Convergers prefer hands-on practical learning. They use abstract ideas and common sense, asking how. And divergers prefer to listen and share ideas, asking why. Personal experience and involvement is important for them. All these styles and ways need to be explored and used if we are to learn effectively and efficiently. Okay, so that has been a lot to take in, so listen again to this clip, pausing, and think about the brain functions, problem-solving steps and approaches to learning I've summarized here. Ask yourself, which are my preferred ones? Remember that not everyone uses their brains like you do, approaching problems and learning things. Try to put yourself in their shoes and use different approaches yourself.